Welcome, Sens Talk.
Russell winds in, feeds it back across the strike, and scores! Brady Tkachuk makes it 2-0. Claude Giroux, hit along, scores!
Tim Stutzock, Ross, Tkachuk score! The captain, Brady Tkachuk, buries it with 1:18 to go.
See you later. Go, Sens, go. Welcome to Sens Talk. My name is Brendan Plant, and I am your host. We have a very, very special video for all of you today as we get into the rumor mill. That's right, we are under a week away from the draft for the National Hockey League in Vegas. It's going to be on June 28th. We're under a week away, which means, of course, the rumor mill is well underway as well. And it's no secret that the Sens need help and goal. And let's just say the Ottawa Senators have been connected to all the available goalies right now on the market. And look, like I just said, it really is no secret that the Ottawa Senators need some help in goal. And I think that's an understatement. They need a savior in goal. Last year, their two goaltenders, Joonas Korpisalo and Anton Forsberg, combined for an .890 save percentage, which was 13 points below league average at .903. They also combined for a 3.25 goals against average, which was very, very high compared to the league average of 2.97. So it's safe to say that Ottawa needs some improvements in the net if they want to make the playoffs next year. Now, as I just mentioned, Ottawa has been involved in, frankly, all the available goalies on the trade market. They were involved in the Jacob Markstrom, quote-unquote, sweepstakes before he was dealt from Calgary to New Jersey just under a week ago. And they are also involved in other goaltenders like UC Soros, potentially Philip Gustafsson, and from the Boston Bruins, Linus Ullmark. And they have been involved, particularly with Linus Ullmark, for some time now. So with the draft less than a week away and the Bruins owing Linus Ullmark $1 million on July 1st, kind of putting in a soft deadline for the Bruins to deal Linus Ullmark, with Jeremy Swayman kind of taking the reins there in net for the Bruins. Well, Steve Staios and Don Sweeney finally connect on a deal between the two clubs. Will Linus Ullmark become an Ottawa Senator? Well, let's talk about it. Before we get into the trade, what an extension might look like, and everything in between, let's first take a look at Linus Ullmark, the player, and let's just say what a player this is. We'll start off with the obvious. We all remember Linus Ullmark's and the Boston Bruins' dominant 2022-2023 emphasis on the regular season, where the Swedish goaltender led the NHL in wins, goals against average, and save percentage, and also won, of course, the William M. Jennings Trophy with, of course, shared there with Jeremy Swayman. That's a shared award. And, of course, he won the Vezina Trophy for Best Goaltender of the Year. Ullmark's personal record just says it all. He was 46-1. I mean, that's insane. Obviously, the record doesn't just say it all for the goalie. It, of course, reflects on the team as well. But just take a moment to just kind of gather that for a second. 40 wins and 47 opportunities. That is absolutely incredible. He also, like I already mentioned, led the NHL in goals against average and save percentage at .938 save percentage and 1.89 goals against average, respectively. So, I mean, my goodness, that is just an absolute dominant season for Linus Ullmark. As we all know, that Boston Bruins team a year ago was very special. And you know what? This didn't just come out of the blue. Linus Ullmark has a proven track record in professional hockey throughout his entire career. Ullmark only once has put up a below .900 save percentage in professional hockey during his career. That one time was in 2011 before being drafted in the SEL. What this shows, quite simply, is Linus Ullmark didn't just come out of the blue and put up these dominant numbers behind a dominant Boston Bruin team. Linus Ullmark, throughout his entire career in professional hockey, has put up very, very good seasons, and has, of course, led up to that remarkable season he had just over a year ago. So once again, putting up above .900 save percentage consistently in professional hockey as a developing goalie is only seen, frankly, by the best of the best in the league. Most goalies, even the average ones, struggle at times in pro hockey. They often, especially in the AHL in the first year or two, struggle with a below .900 save percentage. Ullmark had an above .900 save percentage with the Rochester Americans in the AHL as well. So this guy is proven. It's not like he's just coming out of the blue and riding the coattails of an elite defensive team like the Bruins. No, this guy is legit. Last year with the Boston Bruins, or I should say this year with the Boston Bruins, Ullmark played in 40 games, compiling a record of 22, 10, and 7 with a 2.57 goals against average, a 9.15 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. Once again, I want to remind you, league average for save percentage was 903 this year, and for goals against average, it was 2.97. So, of course, way above league average in both aspects. Now, here is one thing. He did lose his starting role to fellow star goaltender Jeremy Swayman, who as well has been fantastic over the last couple years with the Boston Bruins. Those two have been by far the most lovable and fun tandem to watch in the National Hockey League. Really reminds me of Roberto Luongo and Corey Schneider with the Vancouver Canucks just over almost 2 decades ago now. My goodness, that's kind of crazy to think about. But anyways, this is a very strong tandem that Boston's had. That's why they've had a lot of success. They got a really good relationship there, and both goaltenders are very strong, and the Boston Bruins have, they've chosen that Jeremy Swayman, who is the younger goaltender, who's been equally as impressive as of late, is the goaltender they want to roll with moving forward, which has allowed Linus Ullmark to become available, which is why Ottawa, who desperately needs goaltending, has been involved in those conversations. Now, Linus Ullmark, a bit of a dip last year compared to his previous year with the Boston Bruins, but overall in his NHL career, he's put up about that, save percentage and goals against average. This is about par to the course of what you should expect from Linus Ullmark, which is nothing to scoff at whatsoever. Once again, this is way above league average. In his NHL career in 247 games, he's gotten 138 wins with 73 losses and 23 overtime or shootout losses. He's also in that period compiled 8 shutouts with a 2.51 goals against average and a 9.18 save percentage. So once again, the year he had last year is about what you should expect from Linus Ullmark, which of course is very, very good and would get any team into the playoffs for sure. Now, what I want to do is, look, a lot of the criticism around Linus Ullmark is, as I already mentioned a couple times in this video, he rode the coattails of a strong Boston Bruin team. Frankly, one of the best teams we've ever seen in the regular season in NHL history, which, look, I get that from an outside perspective, but when you take a look at the advanced analytics and the split stats for Linus Ullmark between Buffalo and Boston, the two teams he's played with in the National Hockey League, it's very clear that Ullmark is just a very strong goalie, and he made a strong team even stronger by his strong play. Look, with Boston, he had a 9.24 save percentage and a 2.28 goals against average. I don't expect him to replicate those numbers with Ottawa if he ultimately comes here. But, with Buffalo, which was, let's just say, not a great team, he had a 9.12 save percentage and a 2.78 goals against average. Keep in mind that the Buffalo Sabres at the time, like the Ottawa Senators now, struggled mightily. I think this is an understatement. Mightily defensively, and we're in the middle of a rebuild, and Linus Ullmark alone nearly brought the Buffalo Sabres to a playoff spot, all right? So Linus Ullmark, we've already seen in the National Hockey League, has the capabilities to drag a lackluster club to a playoff, potential position. He brought them to the bubble, he made them competitive, and they went on a bit of a run. Of course, missed it, but once again, for a very poor Buffalo Sabre team, it really shows how strong that Linus Ullmark was to even bring them to such a close possibility of making the playoffs. Basically, what I'm trying to say is Linus Ullmark has proven already in his NHL career that he's played for a bad defensive team that was coming out of a rebuild with a lot of young players. Does this sound familiar, by the way? With a lot of young players, unproven, and he's been able to bring them close to a playoff spot entirely by himself, okay? And once again, this is when he was just entering the league as well. Now he's established. He's been in the league for some time. He's only going to be better. So what I'm trying to say here is don't expect the Boston Bruin Linus Ullmark, but also don't expect the Buffalo Sabre Linus Ullmark. Expect something in the middle, and that thing in the middle, by the way, is all-star caliber. So safe to say, and I'm not trying to spoil things, I'm very high on Linus Ullmark. But I want to take a look at some advanced analytics that kind of give you a better picture of Linus Ullmark as well. Here's a point of concern. I have two things. I have a point of concern and a point of optimism to kind of give both sides of the coin, both sides of the argument light of day. Point of concern is his high danger save percentage with Buffalo is marginally lower than Jonas Korpisalo and Anton Forsberg's last year. He had a .798 high danger save percentage with Buffalo in his entire time there, and last year Korpisalo and Forsberg had a .799. So that's not so great, especially compared to Ullmark's massive jump with the Boston Bruins at .841 in high danger save percentage. So that is a partial point of concern. But what I would say to that is he was younger, still developing, still getting used to the NHL game. He was a rookie during that time as well, at times I should say, with the Buffalo Sabres. And once again, the Buffalo Sabres, I think, in my opinion, were far more worse defensively than the Ottawa Senators were last year at the time as well. Not an excuse, but once again, that was early in his NHL career. But I do understand why some would be concerned about that. But here's a point of optimism. He faced nearly 2 times more rebound opportunities in Boston when compared to Buffalo. Of course, rebounds are tough to stop for a goaltender. You got to be quick, and he put up way better numbers, as you've been able to see on your screen right now with the graphic I just put out there. Shout out to Jamie Dean, our graphic designer, and of course Trent Reynard, our Sens Talksitician, for the stats and for the graphic. It really, puts out a clear picture there for some positive things and some negative things to expect from Linus Ullmark in this game. But overall, it's very clear to me that Linus Ullmark has only improved every single year since joining the National Hockey League, as he's basically every single year except one in the National Hockey League put up an above 9-10 plus save percentage. So this is a guy that's very proven. This is a guy that really will help the Ottawa Senators. But look, you got to get the guy for sure, but what's the ask? And what happens after you acquire him? Because look, he only has 1 year left on his current deal. That's right. He has 1 year left. After this year, he will need a contract extension. That's, of course, as I already mentioned, partially why the Boston Bruins are electing to stick with Jeremy Swayman as their long-term option. Ullmark just won't fit into their cap picture more likely than not. So, with an extension in place with the Ottawa Senators, Linus Ullmark likely will cost, a first-round pick, another piece or two, maybe a Jacob Chychrun. That's what has been reported. I don't know necessarily if Ottawa's going to give up a first-round pick, Jacob Chychrun, and more. I would have said they probably would have to about 3 weeks ago, especially a few months ago. But now, as I already mentioned, the Bruins owe Linus Ullmark $1 million on July 1st. That's part of his contract as a salary bonus. He only has 1 year left on the deal, and it's pretty clear that the Boston Bruins are not likely to, or they're not expecting to roll back with Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman next year. Clearly, Swayman's the only one they have penciled in the crease next year. That's also why the Boston Bruins have expressed interest in Sens backup goaltender Anton Forsberg. They're clearly looking for a backup option to replace what void Linus Ullmark will be leaving there. So, with only a year left, a salary bonus being owed on July 1st, the Boston Bruins kind of have a soft deadline here. I don't think the Bruins management, especially ownership, want to spend $1 million on a player who won't even lace up for them next year. So with only a year left, with that soft deadline approaching, with the emergence of Jeremy Swayman, with the goalie market shrinking, and once again the writing being on the wall that he's likely gone, I don't know if a first plus is what the ask is going to be for Linus Ullmark. Once again, Bruce Garriock has mentioned the Ottawa Senators are the last serious team in the mix potentially for Linus Ullmark. So the market is dwindling, and just like what Pierre Dorion did with the Arizona Coyotes for Jacob Chychrun when that market crumbled, hopefully Steve Staios can capitalize on that market crumbling and get a much more attractive type of deal. Once again, Chychrun was supposed to get 2 firsts for Jacob Chychrun. We ultimately got him for a much more of a discount price. I think still, look, I don't think Linus Ullmark is going to become an Ottawa Senator without a contract in place. So that is obviously going to raise the value of the trade. So I do think if Ottawa makes this trade, it's going to be with an extension in place. So with an extension, I think a first-round pick, of course, has to be part of that deal. I don't know if Jacob Chychrun would be part of it. There's been rumors about Shane Pinto, but Bruce Garriock basically said that's never going to happen. The Sens have said no. They are not interested whatsoever in trading Shane Pinto. So I don't know exactly what the trade may look like. All I know is you're likely going to have to give up Boston's original first, 25th overall in this year's draft, and another piece or two. According to NHL.com contributor from Boston, Mark Diver, on the Boston Bruins on CLNS show, he basically agrees. Listen to this.
The last day of the month, they owe him $1 million. The Bruins do, if he's still with them. So I got to think that something's going to happen by then. They're not going to want to pay. Here's $1 million. Now go to. No, you're not going to play for us anymore. I don't think that's going to happen.
Right. Great point.
But it's the handwriting appears to be on the wall here in Boston and in Ottawa.
So as reporters continually say that the Boston Bruins and Ottawa Senators making a deal between the two for Linus Ullmark essentially seems like a formality at this point. The writing's on the wall. Joe Haggerty of the Boston Sports Journal says it feels like Ullmark is going to get moved to the goalie starved Sens team prior to the start of NHL free agency, which of course will be July 1st. It's very clear that many of the reports are saying this is going to happen. And according to David Pagnotta of the fourth period, he said that 2 sources confirmed that Linus Ullmark would waive to come to Ottawa. Ottawa reportedly is on Ullmark's list of teams he wouldn't be willing to be dealt to, but of course that has changed, which of course shows an interest potentially in signing an extension as well, which obviously is the only thing holding up this deal. I think without an extension, the ask is very low, and that deal theoretically would be done, but I don't think Staios wants to just make a rental deal. He wants a long-term solution, which I completely agree with. So I think that's what's holding this up. And once again, with 1 year left on his $5 million deal, many models forecast a modest raise of $1.5 to $2 million for Linus Ullmark in his next deal. Keep in mind, he is 31 years old. This is when goaltenders hit their prime. He should be playing some of his best hockey for the next few years at the very least. And it's reported he's looking for around $7 million for the next 5 years, which is very fair to me. Goaltenders age like whiskey. They age very, very well. And having him until he's 36, you know, if he's a defenseman or a forward on that deal, might be a bit concerning. But with goaltenders, that is not the case. So that's a deal I would be comfortable with. But, you know, once again, I would like to get him at a little less than $7 million, 6 to 6.5 for 5 years. I would do like that, no doubt about it. So, you know what? I might as well just jump to the conclusion now. Look, with a contract in place at 6.5 or so for 5 years, I'd absolutely pull the trigger on an elite star Vezina winning goaltender like Linus Ullmark. He would be the best goalie the Sens have had in nearly a decade. And once again, we all know the Sens have lacked strong goaltending ever since they let go of Craig Anderson. Your team has no chance of going anywhere in the playoffs in the regular season without solid and stable goaltending. And Ullmark would provide the best goaltending we've had, like I just said, since Craig Anderson. The Sens have no choice but to show improvements next year. They have to make a push. We all know it. They all know it. So for next year, it's a massive year. They have to make the big dance, and improvement is a must. Ullmark could be a massive part in getting us there. Because look, remember, it's not every single day you have the opportunity to acquire a Vezina-winning all-star goalie. It's just not happening every single day. And if you can do it and sign him long-term, you do it and you don't think twice about it. Now, I do know that Korpisalo and Forsberg, as I've already mentioned in this video, one of them's going to have to go. More likely than not, in this situation, Ottawa has offered Korpisalo to Boston. They've politely said no, according to Bruce Garriock. Forsberg likely will be dealt, potentially even in this deal to Boston, as I already alluded to earlier in this video. So what I could see happening is either Korpisalo is bought out to free up some cap space, or they roll back next year with Korpisalo and, you know, of course, Linus Ullmark, and hopefully see improvement in Korpisalo's numbers, trade him to another team with, of course, some salary retained. So either or could happen, and I don't think, once again, you can let a bad contract in Korpisalo that looks bad but can be easily managed, or Forsberg as well, who only has like a year left anyways, get in the way of acquiring a Vezina winning goaltender. I need to hammer this point home. This guy has won the Vezina trophy. He's put up record numbers. You gotta bring a guy like this in if you can, especially if he's looking to potentially sign long-term. And once again, we don't know too much about whether or not he's willing to sign with Ottawa, which of course, if he's not, Ottawa's not going to make this trade. But once again, if he is, this is a no-brainer. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Is Linus Ullmark the answer to Ottawa's goaltending problems, or is the ask just too high? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Go Sens, go.